Welcome back. Kristen Sumter from UGA's Fulton County Extension Services joins us again, and she's got some great tips on just how to preserve all that great food you'll be growing or buying this summer. We're talking about canning, something our grandparents used to do, or our parents. You know, there are all kinds of different methods of keeping the great taste all year round. So this first one is called a what, Kristen?
So this is just a basic water bath canner. It's pretty much just a large stock pot. So this is what you're going to be canning all of your acidic foods in. So any of your jams and jellies, your fruits, anything that has acid added to it. So think about pickles. So pickles have vinegar added to it. Think about salsa. You either have lemon juice or vinegar that you add to that. So acidic or naturally acidic foods are going to be in your water bath canner.
So what do you do?
So you're going, let's say that you're making something like apple jam, and you're going to be boiling the jam just like you would if you were going to be eating it then, but you want to preserve it for up to a year. So we need to make sure that it is properly sealed. So let's say that you've done that, and we're going to come over here, or we can demonstrate carrots. Let's say that we have already used our funnel, and you can buy all of this as a set just at a local store and get all of these in one. If you don't have these, it's extremely hard to can. So this is kind of one of the main things that you would need. So you have a basic funnel that fits over that jar, and you'll put it on in, and let's say that we already did that. And then you have this handy dandy headspace tool. So it's basically it measures. So you have a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, all the way up to 1 inch. Depending on what you're canning, it needs to be at a different level. So the headspace is the space between the very top of the water and the food and then the bottom of the top of the jar. So if we need about 1 inch, you're going to put it in there, and you need to have the water and the food just touching where it's going. And so you can see that it's touching it just like that. And then we're going to flip it over because it's actually a 2-in-1 tool. So this is a bubble freer on this side. You could also use a plastic knife. And you're going to go into the food, and you're just going to go all the way around, and you can do it pretty quickly. But there's going to be a lot of trapped bubbles, whether it's something like carrots or especially jams and jellies, things that have been cooked down a little bit. We want to get those bubbles out. So then you can always flip it back over if you need to add a little bit or take a little bit out. Now's the time. And then you're going to get just a wet paper towel. You're going to wipe the rim, because if you don't wipe the rim, you're going to get a bunch of junk and rust and all that stuff after a year. You always have a 2-piece lid system, and so you're going to put the first part of the lid on, and then you're going to screw it on, and we're going fingertip tight. So fingertip tight is where you start to feel that pressure, but it's not on too tight and it's not too loose. And then our last tool that we use is our jar lifter, and you always want to hold the black side, and the part that has the lips on it, that's what's going to go over the actual jar. Sometimes I try to hold it from the other side, and you're going to be a robot. So I always say, you're a robot, you're a robot, you're a robot. So you're going to pick it up, you're going to move sideways, you're going to move down. So up, down, sideways, up, down, sideways. So something we haven't talked about is this other pot.
Right.
So this is a pressure canner. So anything such as carrots that is low acid. So all of our vegetables, all of our meats, all of our soups, that needs to be canned in our pressure canner. So do you want to take it off for us?
I hope I don't embarrass you by not being able to take the
you
top
go
off.
This way, just like that.
Okay.
There you go. Awesome job.
All right.
So a pressure canner is a little more intense than a water bath canner, but it is not scary at all. So again, we're robots. We're pulling it in. A pressure canner, you're going to have about 1 to 2 inches of water, so right up to about here. In a water bath canner, it's going to be covering the cans about 6 inches. And then we would put the lid back on.
So why robotic, though? Why are you concerned about?
Great question. So we want to be robotic because think about, we just cleaned the top of the can. We want to make sure that no liquid gets on top so that it doesn't rust. If we're moving it and swaying it around, that liquid's going to come up, and then it's not actually going to seal. This is actually the hardest part, is just putting it on.
So I'm going to be done with that. You
so
do
we're
that.
good. We're good. There's always a little arrow where you connect the arrows, and then you put it right on, and you close it up.
See how quick she did that? She knows her way around the kitchen. So this, and you know how long it needs to go?
So one important thing is that you always follow the recipes. And we know that a lot of canning comes from our great-grandmother's recipes. It's passed down. One thing that people don't like to hear is that we need to make sure that it's a tested recipe. And sometimes great-grandma's recipes are not tested.
Never.
So just call us, talk to us. We want to make sure that we preserve the heritage and the history.
Really?
But we want to make sure that you're using recipes that have been tested. And so at UGA in Athens, they're actually testing the recipes in the lab. And so we have books and recipes that are available for free on our website. We have books, and you can use those and know that they're true and they're not going to cause any sickness.
And some of the things you brought, oh, that's why, because you don't want to cause sickness.
Exactly.
Pickled, what is that?
So these are my favorite. These are pickled green beans. And again, since they're pickled, acid's been added. We can can them in a water bath canner. This is apple jam, and so it's a jam or a jelly. Again, it's very acidic, so that's going right in the water bath canner. And then, like we just said, with our regular carrots, they're a low acid food, and so we're putting them in the pressure canner.
Oh, that's amazing. And why are the rims not on these? What's the deal with that?
So sometimes you think, where'd the rims go? Did I lose them? So when you are done processing, when they're cooled, when you're ready to put them in your cabinets for up to a year to last, you might as well just go ahead and take the rims off, because you can reuse these. And if you leave them on for 6 months or a year until you eat them, there's going to be some food, it's going to get crusty, it's going to rust, and you're going to have to buy some new ones. So you might as well just go ahead and take them off and then reuse them.
Can you not reuse that?
Correct. So you cannot reuse this, because this is what creates the vacuum seal, which preserves the food. And so these always need to be thrown away after you use them, and these can be reused.
I never knew that.
Yes.
So really the only thing you can keep is like the mason jar.
Yep. And then the mason jar, when you reuse this, you want to make sure that there's no cracks at the very top. Again, if we want to create that vacuum seal, you want to make sure that there's no air that could escape or liquid that could escape right out of there. So as long as there's no cracks, this is good. And as long as there's no rust, this is good.
All right. Oh my goodness, you've taught me a lot. I wonder if there are some things you shouldn't be canning. That's our next chapter, right?
Yes.
All right, stay with us. More gardening tips when we come back. Good job.